You're listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us spend some time with you. Yes, I said us. Myra is back with us today, and I'm sorry if I just bumped that microphone.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
We are doing the Monday audio only. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I thank you. If you haven't been going to YouTube and watching the videos, you might want to check that out, and I would appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to that for strictly selfish reasons. I get a certain number of subscribers. I get to actually name the channel. That's how YouTube works. So that's the big reason, just to make it easier for people to find us, just like you did. So hopefully you will do that. If you like what you hear, chances are your friends and your family will like it too. So go ahead and hit those share buttons. But more importantly, your enemies probably need to hear it as well. So, just do what you can for them too sometimes. And don't forget, GiveGod90.com is where you can find all the good stuff. Author Jerry Mitchell's where the books are sold. So check that out. Now, with so much that's been going on the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at some of the things that David writes and noticed some similarities from his time and the time we live in now. I know Solomon would later write, there's nothing new under the sun, but the similarities are, I'm not going to say amazing, but they're really interesting. That's why I want to look at Psalm 60 today. And actually, when I was titling this, I thought, I could call it Nothing New Under the Sun, but thought about leaving it simply at Psalm 60, but there was, it needed something else. So was David writing about his time or our time? So to get started, Myra's going to read Psalm 60 from the International Children's Bible, and then we're going to dig into this a little bit deeper. It's only 12 verses, but they're pretty important verses. So go ahead.
God, you have rejected us and scattered us. You have been angry, but please come back to us. You made the earth shake and crack. Fix its breaks because it is shaking. You have given your people trouble. You made us unable to walk straight. The people drunk with wine. You have raised a banner to gather those who fear you. Now they can escape the enemy. Answer us and save us by your power. Then the people you love will be rescued. God has said from his temple, when I win, I will divide Shechem and cut up the valley of Sukkot. Gilead and Manasseh are mine. Ephraim is like my helmet. Judah holds my royal scepter. Moab is like my washbowl. I throw my sandals at Edom. I shout at Philistia. Who will bring me to the strong walled city? Who will lead me to Edom? God, surely you have rejected us. You do not go out with our enemies. Armies. Sorry. Help us fight the enemy. Human help is useless, but we can win with God's help. We will defeat our enemies.
Now that sounds utterly familiar, doesn't it? Right from the beginning, David writes, our Creator has rejected us and broken us. But did he really reject us? A lot of English translations use that word, or something similar to it. But a better way to translate that would be he simply pushed us aside. It's not that he rejects us as his people. He does reject our sin, of course. And because of our sin, he just says, get out of my way. I'm just going to push you out of my way so that my plan will be done. It's not like he's saying, well, if you love me and you are with me, I'm rejecting you. He's saying you're in the way. You've got to get out of the way. And as I say so often, let God be God. Now, he does break us in a way. He humbles us so that we know he is God and we become completely dependent on him and him alone. Think about that. David keeps on writing, though. He doesn't stop there. He says, we know we've made you angry. In other words, we know you're mad and it's our fault. And then David begs for restoration. He says, restore us, fix us. Tell us what we need to do. So, right in the first verses, there's something different between the modern English translations and the original Hebrew that David would have written. We're the ones who get in the way. His righteous anger just pushes us out of the way because we wouldn't let him be who he is. Our Creator has made the earth tremble and shake, but don't think earthquakes here. This is more about a disruption with the way the earth was created to function. And what David's asking for is just put it back together the way it was. Now we know that can't happen, but David's hopeful here. He's saying, just put it back together. Just fix it. Just fix it. We've wished for things that our Creator has given us for our own destruction. We have wished for things that weren't good for us. Have you ever done that? Have you ever wanted something and you keep begging, and you finally get it? And when you get it, you realize it wasn't what you wanted. Think about that. And David says it's like a drunk who doesn't know when to stop drinking for the night. We just want more of what we know is bad for us. But a little good news is that he is showing a way to return to him if we're willing to see it and go to the place that he's showing us. I do kind of like the way the International Children's Bible reads here. Save us by your power. Save us by your power. Your power, because we don't have the ability to save ourselves. We don't have what it takes to save ourselves. Then David tells us what the Creator has said. When I win. He doesn't say if I win. He says when I win. I've said often on this podcast, I've read the back of the book. We know God wins. When I win, I will divide Shechem. I will cut up the valley of Sukkot. He's going to rearrange some things, right? That's disruption. Gilead and Manasseh are mine. He's the one who divides the people. He's the one who divides the places according to his plan. Ephraim is like my helmet. Okay. Judah holds my royal scepter. Now, if you read this in Hebrew, maybe a better translation is, Judah is the one who holds on to my law. Right? Moab is like a washbowl. I throw my sandals at Edom. I shout at Philistia. So there's some things he's really not pleased with. Some things more than others. Some things more than others. David continues, who will bring me to the walled city? Who will lead me to Edom? Why does David want to go there if the Creator's throwing his sandals at it? Well, think about that today. Why are there places that we might want to go when we know they're in conflict? I know people who want to go to major cities. Have you been to one lately? Maybe you live in one. There's conflict there. Why do you want to go there? He's pushed us aside and no longer goes out with our armies. But he wins. He fights the battles himself because we can't be trusted. Think about that. Seriously. Does your Creator trust you? Do you trust him enough to let him trust you? David, being a military leader, he's asking for our Creator to go with us because nobody is of any use. We can't depend on mankind. We can only depend on God. It's only with the Creator's help that we have any chance of winning. It is only with his help that we can defeat evil. It's only with his help that we can be saved. Does that sound a lot like the last couple of weeks? I think so. The world was faced with an enemy. Notice I said the world was faced with an enemy. This enemy embraces death, not life. And even though this week there's a few world leaders who are being honored for defeating that particular enemy, I hope we all know who was really in control of the events that we watched, right? And while those events were happening, even more was going on. Two nations in Africa who had been at war for more than 30 years finally made peace. And of course, I'm talking about Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. They signed a peace treaty that was brokered by the United States, but I would say the real peacemaker in this is our Creator. If you remember Psalm 46, it is He who stops war. It is He who burns the chariots. You see, without our Creator, peace is not obtainable. Without him, restoration is not obtainable. It's not obtainable on the world stage. It's not obtainable in our personal lives. It's not obtainable as individuals either. Judah may be holding the Creator's law. Paul writes, the oracles of God were entrusted to the Jews. That's from Romans chapter 3, if you want to look that up. The words of our Creator were trusted to them for several reasons, and I'm not going to go into all that here. But the thing is, they are the remaining known children of Abraham. The other tribes were scattered through the world. They've been intermingled pretty much with everybody else, and even they don't know who they are today. So the tribe of Judah was chosen to be trusted with the Creator's words, and we do owe them quite a bit for keeping that. Now, did they always get it right? Did they always do the right thing? Of course they didn't. Do you always do the right thing? Of course you don't. But they have kept those words, so we know them if we're willing to read them. And that is the banner that David's writing about. You've raised a banner to gather those who fear you. Now they can escape the enemy. We have his words so that we know how to fear and how to respect our Creator. And we can be rescued from our enemy. All we need to be is willing, right? We need to be willing to look up and see the banner. We need to be willing to open our Bibles and study, or at least read. We need to be willing to live under the Bible. Think about that. You say, oh, we're not under the law, we're under grace. The law teaches us how to be graceful and grateful. The law is given so that we know the difference between what God wants and what he loves and what he hates and what he chooses to reject. And, of course, it teaches us to live the way we're designed to live. David knew that, and he writes about it often. And now you know it as well. But the question is, and you need to answer this question, are you willing? Are you willing to look up and see the banner? Are you willing to open a Bible and read and study? Are you willing to live the way your Creator designed you to live? Consider that until Thursday, because you need to choose. God wins. Do you want to be there or not? That's your choices. That is your choices. It's the only choice you get. So until Thursday.
Until Thursday.
We wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, we do.